ultimately, ego is kind of just trauma. And it can show up in ways that have deep meaning and beauty to them. Dreams and aspirations and social circumstances that show the profound intricacies of human experience in such deliciously unique and exciting ways. But at its core, ego is a liar. It's built off of a fear of death. You could say a fear of being alone. And the entire psychology of ego is infused with this fear. Even the most beautiful and kind and thoughtful egos, the egos that are wonderful, they don't touch truth. Truth is inherent to everything that ego could possibly do or imagine, but ego itself is so far removed from that understanding, just fundamentally. In a world that is so catered to ego's interests, and in a spiritual landscape that is so filled with bullshit and candy for the mind to play with, and icons and figures who are more interested in making money off of you or in propping up their own sense of self than truly embodying truth. How do you navigate that effectively? How do you, when you feel surrounded by your own ego, you feel so deeply identified with it that of course it feels like you, how do you even begin to unravel those threads? And there's lots of spiritual books you can read and practices you can do and retreats you can go to, and those things can be really helpful, and they have been very helpful for me for years. But something that I would sort of come up against repeatedly would be that even if I would have profound spiritual experiences or deep insight, I still kind of haven't felt like I've been there. Like that core belief that I am something other than this, that the psychological self is real and is independent of the world, that is still so tight. My attention is still so glued to the mind. And that frustration and confusion, and in some sense, disenfranchisement with spiritual teaching, led me over the past couple years, I would say, to deeply and personally explore not just like what ego is, but how ego functions, the strategies that ego uses to maintain its own belief system, so to speak. And something that I think emerged from this, and something that I think is really, I don't know, I wouldn't say that it's like not emphasized enough in spiritual spaces online, but maybe it's not talked about directly enough to my liking. I think sometimes it's kind of cloaked in like spiritual language that, at least for me, can make it a little bit more like mental rather than direct. Is just the fact that emotional authenticity is perhaps in this day and age the most potent tool there is to not just like momentary insight, but genuine lasting change and embodiment and experience of something real. If ego is a core belief that is sort of extended into a bunch of other beliefs, right? The belief I am something other than this is not enough, extending into like, I need to make a lot of money to be happy, no one loves me, like all of these things, right? Those beliefs are held together by emotions. Emotions are the actual energy, the substance, which makes ego so sticky and so compelling. Ego is addiction. Addiction is ego. Addiction is emotional inherently. And emotions, in a sense, are addiction. Even the most positive and joyful emotions have a kind of restlessness about them. Sometimes the love itself is so much that it hurts. You can't contain it. I have grown a lot as a person by putting my attention right into my body and in feeling the raw sensations of my emotions. Sometimes pushing them out of me, like almost shaking my body or lurching forward or, you know, just to like get that stuff to the surface and like shake my nervous system loose. There's a fire to emotions. There's a movement to them, and everything moves. Life is movement. If you find yourself like stuck, spinning in circles around spiritual teachings or practices that don't seem to be getting you very far, or watching people who seem to be awake but then feeling like what they say, for some reason it just doesn't land, honestly, I would suggest turning all of that stuff off and just going into your body and feeling what it feels like to be a deeply flawed and sometimes joyous and sometimes in pain animal. Feel into your triggers. Feel into your lust. Feel into your love. Feel that shit. I mean, even if you put aside the spiritual stuff, isn't that what life is for? Isn't that what humanity is? The capacity to stretch yourself to the very margins of what is possible to experience in the confines of a body, four limbs, maybe more, maybe less. Isn't that so beautiful to have the opportunity to pull the rubber band so far back, to bring that tension to its absolute breaking point? I mean, to have the ability to sit with that stuff and to let the insights that seemingly miraculously emerge from that change you, to integrate that insight into how you live your day-to-day life, to live your day-to-day life speaking from a place of authenticity, physically moving from a place of authenticity, down to the most minute things, how you reach for your coffee in the morning when you're at the coffee shop. I kind of lost it there, but I think you get the point. It's like, when people say that this path is simple, it is so fucking simple. But sometimes we have to put it in such complicated language because ego just doesn't want to accept that simplicity is hard and simplicity can really hurt. And simplicity is something that it is not designed to contain. It's a domain that is totally outside of what it can even imagine or sense in a way, you know? And that's why I think with this channel, I'm in as much as I'm interested in talking about like spirituality and spiritual practice and that kind of stuff, I kind of am also interested in just talking about my human experience and in sharing sort of a personal taste of that stuff, because it feels heartfelt. It feels really honest. And I don't know. I think there's a part of me that just wants to do that right now. So the more that you feel your emotions, it's like the walls that your mind has built begin to collapse. You sort of begin to soften. Cause and effect become less rigid. You flow. The world starts to feel much more open and free and strange. You cry. You feel guilt. You feel gratitude. You feel the deepest grief you can imagine, and even deeper. And I have so much respect for anyone who goes through that, because it's so fucking hard. And that's, as somebody who's going through it, it's so hard, especially in a world that treats you like you're crazy if you make that stuff too public to the wrong people. But you're not crazy if you feel this way. Maybe a little crazy, but crazy in the right way. Um, it's not wrong to feel like that. In fact, it's beautiful and it's magic, and it is the very force which pushes you through that door to a world beyond your imagination, to the most unpredictable of things. It's okay.